Good morning. This is KELOLAND on the go with all I need to know in news and weather as you begin your day and week.
The Ringneck Energy ethanol plant in Oneida was rocked by an explosion and fire Sunday afternoon. 6 employees were at work at the time of the explosion, but no one was hurt.
The chief of the Oneida Volunteer Fire Department says there is major structural damage to the ethanol processing portion of the plant. The sheriff's office has secured the scene, and 1 mile of Old Highway 83 will be closed until further notice. Minnehaha County authorities are investigating a deadly weekend crash involving a four-wheeler. It happened early Saturday afternoon on East 10th Street, just outside of Sioux Falls. Medical crews arriving on the scene attempted life-saving measures on a woman involved in the crash, but she died at the scene.
We're hoping to learn more information about the crash during this morning's law enforcement briefing. Stay with KELOLAND News on air and online for updates as they become available. Firefighters northwest of Sioux Falls were busy battling a house fire over the weekend. Crews responded to the home west of Colton on Saturday night. Our camera crew was able to shoot video of flames coming from the upper level of the 2-story home.
The house received heavy damage. We don't know if anyone was home at the time or if anyone's hurt. Stay with us for updates on this story as well.
Now let's get a check of our weather with meteorologist Scott Munt. A hot start to the week, Scott.
Oh, hot stuff today. 80s, low 90s, maybe middle 90s into central South Dakota this afternoon. With Pierce forecast high at 94, about 90 in Sioux Falls. We do have these isolated chances for a shower or thunderstorm as well. We'll hit about 86 in Aberdeen, 88 today in Rapid City. Right now, I would say the best chance to see the rain, western South Dakota, that isolated chance maybe in the southeastern KELOLAND after 5 o'clock. As we do take a look at our outline, we are talking scattered rain through the week. Not everybody will get hit. It will be scattered in nature as temperatures will hit the 80s, despite seeing a cool down for tomorrow with numbers in the 70s. I think going into Wednesday and through this coming weekend, we'll have a lot of us back in the 80s. More details on your forecast with Brian coming up.
Thank you, Scott. Zebra mussels have infested another body of water in South Dakota, Sand Lake National Refuge in Brown County, which in turn affects a popular river in South Dakota.
Through a snorkel survey, Game Fish and Parks found the zebra mussels, which means the Sand Lake Refuge and James River are both considered infested. Robert Novatny was out fishing on the James River near Mitchell on Sunday and says he checks his boat for invasive species when using it.
That entails pulling the plug, making sure everything is dry, doing a slight rub down and visual inspection on the boat itself to make sure that we're not infested. Now, we are fortunate because our boat only fishes the Jim River.
Game Fish and Parks will conduct invasive species inspection stations around the state through September. We have links to rules about aquatic invasive species with this story here on KELOLAND.com. It's typical those on the waiting list for an organ transplant can wait several years.
However, one woman from Watertown only had to wait a few months. Why? Her husband happened to be a perfect match.
She came down and gave me a big hug and wished us congratulations, and
Everybody's happy.
Everybody, even the nurses, they can't believe it. I mean, some of the nurses have been there for years and haven't seen it.
The couple will undergo surgery on Thursday in Sioux Falls. Stacy will spend the next month in recovery. However, says she's excited to get back to work and see her friends. A lemonade stand was raising money for the Humane Society over the weekend. Zoe is a 7-year-old who loves animals and wanted to do something for them.
Her family has 4 cats that are from the shelter and wanted to make sure animals were getting fed and having homes. Her mom says Zoe brought up the idea of a lemonade stand.
She, saw other neighborhood kids doing a lemonade stand and wanted to do her own. She's never done one before. And she thought it would be a fun idea to do it as a fundraiser for the Sioux Falls Humane Society, which I was 100% on board with.
And the lemonade stand was able to raise over $700 for the Humane Society.
Cheers to Zoe. Well, that's a look at some of our top stories.
Now let's get one last look at your weather with meteorologist Brian Karstens. Brian?
All right, our weather update. Well, there is a chance of some severe weather for parts of southeast KELOLAND later today. Now, I know that zone runs from central Nebraska right up through Sioux Falls and then over to the Twin Cities. But we're kind of looking at basically the scenario of these smaller clusters of storms that form within that broader zone. So it doesn't mean everybody's going to get a storm later today, but there will be a few of them around. I would expect tomorrow your main chance will slide into eastern Nebraska, northern Nebraska, into much of Iowa. But we'll kind of keep an eye on that scenario even tomorrow evening. Sioux Falls will be on the tail end of some of that moisture coming back. And so we kind of have this seesaw back and forth. And that's a scenario that we can catch some storms. It's a matter of getting the rain in the right area. That sure be nice for some of us that are still quite dry. Sioux Falls, I can say that pretty confidently. Let's look at Futurecast. Takeaway number one, temperatures well into the 90s. I think there'll be a lot of that weather from Phillip all the way to Huron. A lot of folks will be well above 90 degrees here for a time this afternoon. Now, notice on Futurecast at about 6, 7 o'clock, Yankton, Vermilion, Sioux City. There are some hot spots there that seem to be better positioned for storm development. Not to say Sioux Falls is out of that, but it's just better to the south. And that's something I would keep in mind, because any of those storms in the Yankton, Sioux City area, you could throw in a hail chance, a severe wind gust, even an isolated tornado can't be ruled out there. Now, in the southwestern part of South Dakota, that's a whole separate cluster there. A couple storms are around, and then it looks like on Futurecast here for the overnight, most of the area will be dry, but then there's a little rain coming in from the northwest. That will play a role in temperatures tomorrow with an east wind. We're going to spend a lot of the day in the 70s. Aberdeen might even be a hair cooler, and that rain chance will probably drift into Sioux Falls in the afternoon. So kind of keep that in the back of your mind, too, as we start to pick up that rain chance even tomorrow night and early Wednesday a little bit better. So there's your hot weather. 94 today, Mitchell, 95 in Huron. The 7-day forecast, we play the temperature down tomorrow to 78 and then back up to 82 on Wednesday, 84 Thursday. The storm chance will come back on Friday into Saturday. So it's a week of kind of typical talking points for July. You know, we're going to hit some rain chances around. We're going to have temperatures a lot of the time back in the 80s, not terribly hot, but plenty warm. Aberdeen also, I want to include plenty of chances of scattered thunderstorms because they will be around. I think some rain around tomorrow. Another pretty decent shot here on Friday. Pierre, you're in this zone too, where tomorrow there'll be some rain coming in from the northwest. There could be more of that on Wednesday. And at this point, Friday is probably a little better shot. And of course, Rapid City, where it's been wet most of the summer. Yeah, a lot of 30 and 40% chances of scattered showers and thunderstorms. You can bet on that in the Black Hills especially. Check out details with the rest of your weather at KELOLAND.com.